Darkness enveloped the desolate planet like a shroud, and the air was thick with a gloomy, corrosive atmosphere. My name is Inquisitor Theron Vallius, and my duty was to investigate signs of corruption among the highest echelons of imperial power. In the 41st millennium, humanity constantly struggled against the darkness, but this mission turned into a nightmare beyond imagination. Exidius Prime was a ruin, a place that had seen better days before the war, and heresy had reduced it to a womb of rubble. Accompanied by a team of inquisitorial adepts, I ventured into the bowels of a long-forgotten city, where ancient buildings seemed to mourn the lament of the dead. The faint cries of the wind through shattered windows felt like whispers of the damned, echoing across the empty streets.
"Inquisitor, do you feel it?"
whispered Adept Harlan, his voice trembling.
"The air, it's wrong. I have a bad feeling. Something here is not right."
"Focus, Harlan," I replied curtly. "Darkness feeds on fear. Fortify your mind, or it will consume you." My objective was clear. Investigate the dominant political faction, a cabal that operated in shadows and thrived on the suffering of its citizens. But as is often the case, the thirst for knowledge leads to horror, and I soon discovered that heresy had roots deeper than I could have imagined. As we ventured deeper into the silent streets of Exidius Prime, every step seemed to echo unnaturally. The windows of the houses were veiled with tattered drapes, and the buildings, once symbols of glory, now stood as hollow shells haunted by a malevolent wind. It felt as though the city itself was breathing, an agonized entity watching our every move. The further we advanced, the more I felt the weight of unseen eyes, cold and relentless. My team and I found ourselves in an ancient palace, once the heart of political power. The walls were adorned with paintings depicting tales of glorious heroes, now faded like the hopes of this beleaguered city. As we stepped into the palace, a shiver ran down my spine. It wasn't just the decaying magnificence of the place, but an indescribable presence that seemed to permeate the very walls. The air was heavy, almost viscous, and every corner concealed secrets. Every corridor felt like a labyrinth designed to trap us for eternity. While examining an ancient archive, I discovered a forbidden document, a secret treaty with the forces of chaos. The parchment seemed to shift in my hands, as though it were alive, and the words burned into my mind like a searing brand.
"By the throne,"
gasped Harlan, peering over my shoulder.
"This can't be. They made a pact."
"It's worse than that," I replied grimly, my fingers tracing the heretical seal at the bottom of the document. "They sold their souls for power, and now the entire planet will pay the price." Betrayal unfolded before my eyes. The city's leaders had struck a dark pact, sacrificing the soul of their people in exchange for power and prosperity. A wave of disgust washed over me, but my mission demanded that I press on, even if it meant confronting the horror I had just uncovered. In the shadows, my team and I discovered a hidden passage leading to an underground crypt. Here, at the throbbing heart of heresy, stood an altar stained with blood and surrounded by symbols of chaos. The truth was undeniable. The city was a nest of corruption, and betrayal lurked among its highest echelons. The walls of the crypt seemed alive, with veins of warp energy snaking beneath their surface. As we explored the crypt, smoking candles cast an eerie glow on a circle of pyres, revealing hooded figures whispering ancient mantras. These were the city's leaders, traitors cloaked in the darkness of chaos. In that instant, the room's temperature plummeted, and I saw the figures undulating in the air, possessed and poised for utter blasphemy.
"Inquisitor, they're summoning something!"
Harlan shouted, bolter raised.
"Hold the line! Don't let their ritual be completed!"
I commanded, stepping forward with my rosarius faintly glowing.
"If they succeed, it will be nothing but bitter ruin."
The battle that followed was a macabre dance between the Inquisition and the servants of chaos. The city's leaders, once respectable figures, were now deformed denizens of a twisted realm. Flames flickered and blades clashed against forbidden powers. The growing chaos, fueled by betrayal, threatened to consume all that remained of Exidius Prime. In the midst of the battle, the weight of the heresy around me grew almost unbearable. The flames of the candelabras flared higher, fed by a violet energy, while the screams of our enemies intertwined with the roaring fury of the warp. A massive column collapsed mere steps away, sending a wave of dust and debris cascading through the crypt. My adepts fought with desperate ferocity, yet their cries of defiance turned to agonized screams as they fell, one after another. Amid the chaos, I felt the pernicious, ruinous call of chaos slithering into my mind. Visions of boundless power and forbidden knowledge unfolded before me, their allure almost irresistible. But I clenched my resolve, pushing the temptation away with every ounce of my faith and willpower. For a moment, reality itself shattered. I found myself suspended in a cosmic void, surrounded by twisted figures engulfed in living flames. Their faces were a grotesque mosaic of despair and hatred, their voices reverberating as a mournful chorus. An enormous, indistinct figure loomed before me, its eyes glowing with a crimson radiance that seemed to pierce my soul.
Theron Vallius,
it whispered.
Your sacrifice is not required, only your allegiance to true power.
The temptation was palpable, an almost physical pull, but my faith anchored me.
I will not yield to your lies,
I roared, gripping my bolter with renewed determination and firing into the frenzied mass of enemies. Suddenly, the air erupted with a deafening roar, and the ground beneath my boots trembled violently. A chaos creature, summoned by the blasphemous ritual, materialized within the circle of pyres. Its form was a writhing mass of tentacles and burning eyes, each orb glowing with an infernal light that seared the mind. Adept Harlan screamed as the monstrosity lunged forward, its claws carving deep trenches into the stone floor.
Fall back to the crypt entrance,
I commanded, my voice cutting through the chaos. I knew the battle was already lost.
We cannot die here. Our knowledge must reach the Sacred Inquisition.
The battle reached its zenith, but the horror of the abomination proved insurmountable. As my adepts fell one by one, I felt the grip of chaos tighten around me. The creature let out a dissonant scream, and the world around us warped, revealing a chaotic dimension of incomprehensible madness.
It's not real,
Harlan muttered, his voice breaking as the landscape twisted into lunacy.
It's the warp. It's inside our minds.
Moments later, the crypt began to collapse, threatening to become our tomb. The sibilant whispers of chaos grew more insistent.
Theron Vallius, you have seen the truth. Your Imperium is fragile, your Emperor is fragile, but you are not. You are no weak servant. Join us, and I will show you true power.
For a fleeting moment, I hesitated. What if the Imperium wasn't enough? What if chaos was the only way to survive? But then the memory of my fallen adepts burned through my hesitation, like a cleansing fire.
Never,
I growled, gripping my Rosarius tightly.
Faith is not weakness. It is the strongest weapon I possess, and it will destroy all your lies.
Reality snapped back into focus. The crypt lay in ruins, the flames of the altar and pyres dying out. The chaos creature had vanished, but the price of betrayal had been paid with the blood of the innocent. Exidius Prime was condemned by its greed and corruption, its fate sealed by the heretical pact of its leaders. And so, as my team and I left the desolate planet, I knew my battle against chaos would not end here. Beneath the blackened sky of that forsaken world, I wondered how many other cities in the Imperium harbored the same darkness, how many other leaders had traded their humanity for the illusion of power. Betrayal was a plague that wormed its way into the hearts of the Imperium, and my inquisitorial mission would continue to seek out and annihilate heresy, even if it meant confronting the growing evil of the 41st millennium. The war against chaos was not only fought with bolters and blades, it was waged in the depths of the soul, a perpetual battlefield within a man's very being.